Okay, so someone asked me if they was to get Wicks, are they going to get smaller? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Don't let someone tell you that they're not. Now, the only way they're not going to get smaller is if you have this real thick, coarse hair. You understand what I mean? Only really thick, coarse hair, and I'm talking about the coarse hair where you see people locks are like really thick, but they got small parts, but you see how thick their hair is. That will determine how thick your wicks or your trunks will be. Over time, the lock starts to mature. It will compress itself. That's why you see people decompressing locks, because a lot of people don't like that it gets small and things like that, but it's a natural process. Over time, that's what's going to happen to the lock. It's not going to stay swollen into that round shape that you had before. Literally have to make it back rounded again. Not only will you have to decompress the lock, but over time, you know, making it get wet, make those coils intertwine and tighten up with one another. You're not going to be able to prevent that. Just different factors of living, period, will make your locks and your wicks and your trunks and your Congos, it will make all of them smaller. You know, they're not going to be as thick as they once were. You can, like I say, decompress them, have them decompress, and it'll give it back that full look. But over time, that decompression will go back to being compressed. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the way that you would want it if you want it to be rounded, because they are not really meant to be round. It's only rounded because you instantly are getting it done. You know what I'm saying? But if you was to sit up there and take the hair and pull it apart, you know what I'm saying? There's a reason why I be posting about Molly's picture all the time, because I want to perfect some trunks that's like that, you know, some Congos. I mean, I want to perfect that look, because if they're not rounded, you know, just had it all wrong all these years, and I would want a more natural approach. And also, the maintenance, they would be lighter, you know what I'm saying? Because when it's rounded, it seems more solid. Even when it's flat, it's solid, would be more easier if they were flat. So I don't know, you know. It's only one way to find out, and I'll find that out one day. Now, another way that they won't get small is if, let's say, the person method of making the trunk or the wick, let's say that they don't crochet the middle part. They just, you know, putting it together, but they're not, you know, distressing it. Outside, they are distressing those locks and then putting it, you know, all together, you know, layer on top of the layer that's not broken down. That's one of the ways you can prevent it from getting smaller if it's halfway done. And many people, in my experience, want the lines to be gone. They don't want the lines. So that is when you break down the lock fully, you know, so now it's reverted back to loose hair. So you have to think about that. And you're gathering up this loose hair. This loose hair is stringy. Get wet, you know that hair is going to go back to its curly or coily pattern. You understand what I'm saying? And once it goes back into that pattern, as I mentioned before, it's going to revert back to what it once was. So you might have pieces, you know, of hair in certain spots. If you was to let that go, to rock that for a little while, as it mature, you're going to start seeing those lines come out from underneath, because the top hair is, you know, drawing up, if that makes sense. So that's still a way. So if you want wicks temporarily, you know, you can go for that. Other than that, let me see. Another way, as I mentioned, if the person have very thick hair, you know what I'm saying, their wicks is going to be, you know, relatively thick, but it's not going to be like super thick as when they first get them done. That's not it. Over time, as it mature, it is going to get tighter. It is going to get smaller or skinnier. You know what I'm saying? If the person leave it alone and let it do what it does, over time it will get flat. You understand? It'll start growing from the roots, and it will grow out flat, if that makes sense. The top part of the wicks will be flat. Some people will be twisting them, and so you'll see a person, it'll be skinny at the top, fat at the bottom from them twisting it, and it grow out like that. So just be mindful.